All right, we're gonna be talking about this right here. This is the BlackMagic design pocket cinema camera 4K, and we're gonna talk about whether or not it's worth the wait and is it as good as all the hype. Now when I say is it worth the wait, it took ages to get this camera and the back order was on forever. And here I was watching other people put stuff up on YouTube talking about how wonderful it is and how great it was, and just wondering to myself, is it? You know, is it really? And finally came in, got it in my hands, and yeah, it pretty much is. It's a dope camera. This thing is so amazing. Game changer? Yes, depending on what your game is. And that's where it starts to break down and get a little bit more complicated. Is it the right camera for you? Is it the right camera for me? At the moment, yeah. And I'm gonna explain why that is. Okay, now we just kick off with a little bit more information. There's something that it isn't out there online at the moment. I haven't been able to find anyone talking about it, and that is for my fellow Nikon shooters, people who are shooting with Nikon glass. Can they get this camera working, and how is that speed boosted by Metabones? The Metabones speed booster, I got the XL, so the 0.064, to bring that crop factor down to a 1.29 crop factor, which is actually better than APS-C or the Super 35 with a full frame lens on there. And it also gives you the extra stop of light. And I'm here to tell you folks, it's really good. The build quality is fantastic. Now I used the Metabones adapters before when I had the original pocket cinema camera, and that adapter still works great. In fact, it's in better shape than the camera itself. So I'm expecting the same kind of quality from this one. What's great about these Metabones adapters, especially getting onto a micro 4/3 mount to the Nikon lens, is it gives you a really good distance. There's a lot of flange distance there. So the actual unit itself is really, really well constructed, and it's got a little bit of reinforcement, which means holding onto a lens like this one here, which is the 17-35, is no problem for this adapter. It fits on there great. There's no wiggle room. It's really, really sturdy, and the sharpness is ridiculous. It's so good. So that adapter right there and this camera work really well if you're a Nikon shooter. Don't hesitate on that point. You feel free to just jump right in and get it. Okay, so when I was saying, who is this camera good for and does it work for you? Is it gonna work for someone else? And that it does work for me. The reason it works for me is form factor. There's so many cameras out there. I'm shooting this right now on an Ursa Mini, decked out, kitted out. I mean, I got a matte box, I got the viewfinder, I got the SSD drive, I got the V-mount batteries, you know, follow focus rails, shoulder kit, it's all on there. It turns it into a huge camera, and it's really, really noticeable. People see that camera and they think instantly, this is a professional shoot, this is a real deal shoot. And that can be a hindrance sometimes, especially if you want to go and do more run and gun style shooting, or what I'm doing at the moment, which is a lot of travel videos. You turn up to, especially in Asia, you start turning up to temples or something like that with your sticks and a big ass camera, and you're gonna get told no before you even get in the door. It's not that filming isn't allowed, it's just that they've got rules in place, and that camera screams, did you get permission first? This camera, however, looks like could be anyone shooting. Could be a DSLR, could be your average tourist, even though it does perform just as well, if not, in my opinion, a little better than the Ursa Mini does. And again, I'm not talking about the latest model, that is the older 4K. So I'm using this a lot more for travel, as I just mentioned. And where that's really good too is just the compactability, the form factor, but the weight as well. I can put this camera, a whole stack of batteries, a couple of lenses in a backpack with my drone, a really small set of sticks, or maybe my Ronin S, and just cruise around my backpack without even breaking a sweat. With my other kit, with a bigger form factor camera, even with some of the other cameras I've had to use, you're always compromising something, whether it's your back for the weight of the Ursa set up with the, you know, the full-size tripod, or whether you're using a DSLR and you're compromising the fact that you're not getting that raw footage, you're not getting 4K, all that kind of stuff. It's always been a compromise. This camera seems to take out that compromise and really, really performs well. It performs well in daylight, it performs well at night. These are the things that just set it apart from a lot of the other cinema cameras out there. It just covers the whole spectrum really well. Big elephant in the room, everyone's talking about it, and that is battery life. Yes, the battery life kind of sucks, okay? It does, it kind of sucks. I put in with the factory battery that came with the camera, shooting at 60 frames per second, raw 4K at a 12:1 or 8:1 at times, I was seeing maybe 30 to 40 minute battery life. And that's in pretty decent tropical heat. That's not in the cold. A couple of other batteries I did buy at the time from a third party thing, and they were doing more around the 30 minutes solid. So yeah, battery life does suck with this camera. However, those batteries are only $10, $20 for a cheap one, $60 for an official one. It's not really a big ask to go out and buy 6 or 7 batteries. When you compare it to the cost of one V-mount brick, it's cheap. So in that sense, I just went out and bought 8 batteries. So right now I've got 8 batteries and I've got a USB dual charger. So what I do is I put that in my backpack, 2 batteries on charge, running off of a V-mount, and I've still got 6 batteries to go. So there's plenty of time to rotate batteries around to make a really long shoot work. So battery life, yes, it does suck, but it's to be expected. And when you're dealing with small form factor cameras that run this amount of data through them, you got to expect the battery's going to go dead quick. So just be prepared, work out a workflow that's going to work for you. Just showed your mind. Feel free to use that, make your own. Drop a comment if you've got a better idea and let me know. But yeah, the battery life isn't, it really doesn't kill the camera. Okay, look, I'm not going to get into total tech specs with the camera. You can look all that up online, so don't get into too much about that. You know, we know what it shoots. We know the ISO ranges. We know what all the buttons do. We know what all these little controls here on the side are. They're all written on the website. They're on every other review. Don't look to this review for that. This is more about what it's actually like to live with and work with. And in that regards, it does have another major drawback, and some people have talked about it and some people haven't, and it's the screen. Okay, screen is incredibly beautiful. The menu system, the touch screen, everything's wonderful until you need to get the camera at an odd angle or you're in bright sunlight. Then it's completely and utterly useless. Now, BlackMagic had this same problem with the original Pocket Cinema camera, and they just didn't address it with this one. All that they've really done is give it a very slight skew. If you look on that, it's just very slightly angled, so you can kind of get a bit of a view on it at a different angle. But essentially, a monitor or, I don't know, a yoga retreat just to get your back all bent down, I don't know. Something like that is going to be necessary if you really want to get eyes on what you're doing all the time at different angles. Otherwise, you just kind of have to learn to deal with it. If you were a still photographer at all, you probably used to put yourself in some weird angles just to see through the viewfinder. Same kind of idea with this. Okay, a bunch of people have talked about how it's kind of plasticky. Yeah, but it's not cheap plasticky. It's not like, it doesn't feel like it's going to fall apart in your hands. It feels really rugged. It feels really well built, and it's got enough weight to it, even though it is a light camera, to not feel too flimsy in the hand. You can get some pretty stable shots even handheld with this camera. Ergonomics. Yeah, ergonomics are really good. One thing I will say about it is that the hand grip itself is a little bit stretched out. It's not as comfortable as a DSLR. It does feel a little bit like you're really reaching around to grab at all the controls. The record button is in a great place. I do notice that sometimes when I'm going to press it though, I do clip the still photo button. It hasn't proven to be a problem yet, but it is something that does happen from time to time. 3 function buttons up on top, great, power on, power off. The high frame rate button is probably my favorite thing there. Just being able to click between 24 frames and 60 frames in one press when you're shooting something is fantastic. I've had nothing but joys out of that. The microphones, yeah, they're scratch mic, you know. Don't grab this camera, go out and shoot an interview with it without using an external mic system or something else and expect to get quality sound out of it. If you do, that's on you, you're stupid. They're scratch mics. They're right here under your fingertips. They're gonna pick up every little bit of audio. So if you go and rely on those, then you screwed up. Okay, now recording to media. The CFast and SSD slots that you have in here are great, they're there. I found that with the CFast, I can do the 4K 60 frames a second at 8:1. At 5:1, I will get a drop frame after say 30 seconds to a minute, but at 5:1, at 8:1 and 12:1, not a problem. With the SSD, 12:1 only when you're starting to shoot at those levels. However, if you go to 24 frames a second, you can shoot it right across the board, no problems on both those media formats. Now, if you want to go and get the higher resolution at the 60 frames, you're going to have to get an SSD and run it through the USB-C. I haven't done that, and one of the reasons I'm not doing that is that this camera is not, in my opinion, for what I use it for, is not meant to be built up into a rig. I know I just started some controversy there. I've seen the internet's aflame with all these people going out there and covering their camera with small rig products to make it bigger and bigger and bigger and mounting V-mounts, and before they know it, they've got a huge ass rig like this with a tiny little camera inside that shoots great quality. However, they could have just gone out and bought themselves an Ursa Mini. All right, this camera is meant to be something that you can be portable with, that you can move around with, and rigging it up is just, in my opinion, kind of pointless to have a pocket cinema camera. Now, yeah, it doesn't fit in your pocket, but it's compact, it's light, it's meant to fly into a backpack, it's meant to be great for a street shooter. And when I start to see it get rigged out, I'm just like, what's the point? If I'm going to shoot with this camera, it's going to be in three ways. It's either going to be handheld, on a tripod, or on my Ronin S. I mean, that's the way this camera is going to get used. Decking it out with massive shoulder rigs and all that sort of stuff, to me, is just overkill. It's just screaming, look at me, I want to be professional. To give you an idea about how good the footage that comes out of this camera is, I went on one day between an Ursa Mini 4K, the original 4K, and then I jumped onto this the next day. And I don't ever want to look at the Mini 4K footage again, and that stuff's beautiful. I don't ever want to see it again. The quality that comes out of this camera is just leaps and bounds beyond. Now, I know that's a dated camera now, but still, it's a high quality camera. And to have better footage coming out of something at this form factor and at this price, holy shit. Like, well done, guys. Very impressed. Okay, really, I mean, that's about it. If you're looking for a compact camera that shoots amazing footage, that was great for travel, is great for getting into like small areas, but I mean, can shoot professional grade video, then yeah, this is the camera to look at. If you have a hell of a lot of EF lenses and stuff like that, you might want to look at the 6K. Personally, I've got another video about that. I didn't go the 6K because I don't shoot with EF, I shoot with Nikon, and also I wanted that speed booster. I wanted to have that field of view, larger field of view, whereas the 6K doesn't really have that, but you can check that out in my ranty little video, which is, I'll link right here. But yeah, if you'd like to see some of the footage that I am getting with this camera, then jump over to Cinematic Asia. I'll put the link right here. Cinematic Asia is a new channel. Please jump on there, check it out, subscribe. We're covering a lot of footage around Asia, and you can see a lot of the footage that I am getting with this camera from this point on. It's really, really upped the game. It's changed the whole look and feel, and it's made the videos look outstanding. Okay, that's my review. As always, hit the subscribe, the notifications, so that we can stay friends, and happy shooting. A travel video isn't about a couple with a credit card. A travel video is about the destinations that inspire you to travel.
Wow.